17, Kwame Badu made a decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life. His childhood in a small town had been nothing short of tragic. His parents, both raging alcoholics, had no love to give, only bottles to drown in. His elder brother Yao had been the only ray of light in their home, a young man devoted to faith, determined to become a priest and break the generational curse. But Kwame was different. He was restless, angry. He had learned early that life was about survival, and when his own mother handed him his first bottle of alcohol and introduced him to drugs, he didn't resist. He followed in her footsteps until he met Aminata Sowe. She was the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in town, a girl who had never known hardship, yet had fallen for him against all odds. She loved him for who he was, not what he had or lacked. He had never felt that kind of love before, but love was not enough to stop fate from tearing them apart. When she got pregnant at 17, her father, Alhaji Sowe, was enraged. A scandal like this could not be tolerated. Kwame was summoned to his mansion, where he was offered two choices, either to disappear forever or he faced consequences too dire to imagine. Alhaji had already arranged for an abortion. Aminata had no say in it. Kwame hesitated for only a moment before taking the thick brown envelope of cash. "Don't ever come back. Don't ever try to contact her," Alhaji had warned. And so, with nothing but the money and his own regrets, Kwame vanished into the night. Kwame did not look back. The moment he stepped onto the bus that would take him away from town, he felt both relief and a heavy burden pressing on his chest. With the money Aminata's father had given him, he bought a train ticket that took him to a different country altogether. He wanted absolutely nothing to do with his past. No family, no friends, no memories. He needed to start over, even if it meant severing every connection that had once defined him. There was nothing he could have done to protect Aminata. He didn't have the means. He strongly felt that leaving Aminata behind, leaving his hometown completely, was the best decision. He shivered to think what would happen to him if he had decided to stay back instead of taking the money. The day had started like any other on the set of his latest film. Kwame, now known to the world as KB Storm, had just finished an intense scene, delivering his lines with a precision and charm that made him one of the most celebrated actors in the country. But as the director called for a break, something felt off. A sudden wave of dizziness hit him and his vision blurred. His chest tightened, first a dull pressure, then a crushing pain that spread down his left arm. He gasped, his breath coming in sharp, ragged gulps. He staggered forward, knocking over a tray of props as the crew rushed toward him in panic. Sir, are you okay?" He wanted to respond, to reassure them, but his body betrayed him. The pain was unbelievable, like an iron fist squeezing his heart. Then everything went dark. When he woke up, the blinding white lights of a hospital room greeted him. The steady beeping of a heart monitor filled the air, and he could feel the stiffness of the IV lines connected to his arm. His throat was dry, his body weak. He tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through his chest, making him groan. His manager, Raymond, was beside him, his face pale with worry. "You're awake," Raymond sighed, relief washing over him. Kwame tried to speak, but only managed a raspy whisper. "Where am I?" Raymond hesitated before answering. "A private hospital in the city. You had a massive heart attack, Kwame. The doctors say your heart is failing. You need a transplant." Kwame's blood turned cold. "A transplant?" He clenched his jaw. "So, get me one." "It's not that simple," Raymond said. "You're in a critical condition. You need to be in a hospital where you can be closely monitored while waiting for a donor." Something about his tone made Kwame's stomach tighten. "Where, Raymond?" His manager hesitated again before finally saying, "They're airlifting you to your hometown is the best option." Kwame shut up, despite the pain. No way in hell. The doctors already made the arrangements, Raymond said, looking tired. You were unconscious for hours, Kwame. They needed to act fast. It's happening. Kwame felt like the walls were closing in on him. That town, the town he swore never to return to, the place where he buried his past and everything that came with it. Cancel it, he said, his voice laced with desperation. I will find another hospital. Raymond ran a hand over his face. You don't have time for this. The doctor said if you don't get proper care, you won't last a week. Kwame shook his head. His breath grew shallow, panic rising in his chest. You don't get it, Ray. I can't go back there. Listen to me, Raymond snapped, his voice uncharacteristically sharp. This is your life we're talking about. I don't care what's in that town that you're running away from. You either get on that air ambulance or you die here. Choose. The weight of those words crushed him. He could barely breathe, but it wasn't just his failing heart. It was the fear of facing the past he had abandoned. He fought it. He raged, but in the end, his body betrayed him again. Another wave of pain shot through his chest, and this time, he didn't have the strength to argue. By the time he was strapped into the air ambulance, his eyes were shut and his mind was swollen with dread. He was going home. Dr. Aminata Sowe had been running on adrenaline all day. It had been one emergency after another, leaving her barely any time to catch her breath. She was just about to take a much-needed break when a nurse hurried to her side. Doctor, we have a critical case coming in, the nurse reported. A VIP patient, airlifted in. Aminata frowned. The hospital was known for handling high-profile cases discreetly, but it was rare to get one this urgent. What's the condition? Massive heart failure. The patient needs to be stabilized immediately, doctor. Aminata nodded. All right, let's get to work. The emergency team prepared the operating room as the patient was wheeled in. She moved swiftly, snapping on her gloves, focused solely on the job at hand. But the moment she laid eyes on the unconscious man before her heart stopped. The color drained from her face.